What's up, guys? It's day 166. So, today we were on U of T campus arm wrestling some of the students and getting signups for the club that hopefully will start soon. Um, Darren said that, well, I think we started talking about it maybe even last year about starting a club, but never ended up happening. Paul and John used to run a club around 2 years ago, and um, I was a part of that back then. So, and I always thought it would really get a lot of signups, and I think that if that club had kept going, probably we'd have like 20 regular members by now. Just because every week we had a guy showing up who had just like looked it up, like literally U of T Arm Wrestling Club, or just like so there's no need for any like promotion, nothing. People would just literally Google it, and they wanted there to be a club for arm wrestling. So I think it's really good that we're filling uh, that need, and because it's like we talk about grow the sport, and it's like we have people literally searching on the club list for arm wrestling, and there's no club there. I think that's just a shame, like because all these people that could have been, really dedicated arm wrestlers never got the chance to find it, and maybe they never ended up finding the other clubs either. Um, and in a lot of ways, like it is more accessible, like even if when I was a student, I feel like it would have felt easier for me to just go to a school club than to look for I mean even though there's tons of clubs out in this area, to go to a club that's just like a Toronto club. Um, so I mean I think it's a great idea, and we're gonna get, like I said, a lot of people joining the sport, I think, hopefully, especially in a few years time, maybe like right away. you know, it'll be, 5 or 6 people regularly coming. But I think over the years, like once there's some organization and some history and, structure to it, there's like a freaking 100,000 people that go to U of T. Um, and, you know, and people that start arm wrestling, like, usually don't quit. Like, it's extremely addictive. And, like, I want to quit all the time, but I can't. So, um, yeah, I think it has potential for sure, especially if it's run well. I mean, Darren keeps saying that he it hasn't been registered as a club officially, and I haven't really looked up how you do that, but I don't know. He keeps, I guess, telling me that it hasn't been done. I'm like, can we do it? He's like, yeah, but I don't know. We'll see when that's done. I'm not exactly sure what we're missing, but hopefully that gets done soon. And then we're planning to do a practice at Queens Park, I think, and inviting a bunch of like experienced arm wrestlers, because I think it'd be kind of a cool experience if like some of these guys show up to just see some of these guys, like Eddie or Alexander, and just like realize like this is possible, like you can get like this from arm wrestling, like because I think when I started, like it was like super cool to just see the strongest guys at the club, and I'm like, wow, like there's so many levels, and it gives you something to sort of aspire to. But anyways, yeah. So like this video, we were Darren was telling me that like we should do something at campus to like a challenge, or like set up a table and then get people to sign up. And I was actually, that's a really good idea. Um, that's a really good idea, and I've always wanted to do one of those, like, can you beat this nerd or whatever, can you beat this guy challenges on the street. Um, because I just like I always want to see how far I'd come in terms of like compared to the just average population that don't arm wrestle. Because I mean, I never get to really test myself against non-arm wrestlers, just always against other arm wrestlers. Because I mean, you can arm wrestle your friends, but most of my friends don't want to, and like even if someone wants to, they already know you're an arm wrestler, and then they don't really try, and it's just so hard to get like engaged. So I've always been curious, and I also like, yeah, and I also like never got to pull like strong non arm wrestlers really. So um yeah, I really want to see. And so I so I figure we should do a challenge and put up money because it's like if you don't put up money, I just feel like it's just not that interesting and we're not going to get as much attention and as much participation. Darren and Sheen were like super afraid to put up any money, which like, and I can't, blame them. And I think like talking to them also made me start to like really question myself. I'm like, wait, yeah, like, am I just gonna lose? Because at first I was like, whatever, fuck it, I'll put up $100 because I just was like, I'm not gonna lose. And then towards the end, I'm like, okay, let's make it 50 because if maybe I do lose, like 100 is a lot, obviously, and 50 I feel like is also like a big enough number where like it wouldn't make that much of a difference in participation. So what we ended up doing was, like I said, I got super paranoid about losing too, because I mean obviously I don't want to lose $50. So what we ended up doing was we decided to get Darren go first, and then we were giving out donuts if anyone beat Darren, and then we have Sheen go next, and we give them $5. And then if they beat Sheen, then they beat pull me for 50, right? So I was like, once with that, I was like pretty confident. Um, because one is I would have to pull way less. Because I mean, like obviously Darren would be like 95% of people. And even if there was someone really strong, I'd have some time to kind of like see how they pull and he'd get tired out. So I was pretty confident I wouldn't lose my money that way. What ended up happening was about the first hour and a half. Darren beat like 20 guys in a row, and he was actually like super locked in because what I was doing is I was holding the sign says, "Can you beat me at arm wrestling?" Everyone was making fun of my sign. They say it looks like beat meat and all this stuff, but like I'm sorry that the arm wrestling poster was not the most artistic and not the most like freaking beautiful, like beautifully phrased like prose, but I was tired, right? Like I wrote that on Thursday night. I had no food all day, walked for like 4.5 hours, just like so tired. And then me and Darren both had class until like 7. We met and went to the dollar store, got some supplies. And I'm just like, yo, I'm just gonna copy the what other people. So that's what the other people's sign is. Okay, so whatever. Anyways, so I was holding the sign and like trying to get people to come over and arm wrestle. So I didn't really I wasn't looking. A lot of times I wouldn't even be looking at Darren, but he was letting people start in position and like giving them tips and just still winning every. And he would be in these like I look over and he'd be in like a defensive hook, and I was just like, oh shit, he's about to lose, but then he wouldn't lose. So I was like, damn, okay, so he really went crazy for like an hour and a half, which was good at first because I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to have to pull a bunch of people and risk the money. But then, like 20 people in, I start getting like real like itching to pull, um, and eventually, like I think about like 2 hours later, because Sheen came too, and then even people, because Darren is like, I mean, I would have to assume like super pumped, even if he doesn't realize how much he's gassed. Yeah, like when she came, even if like a couple people would beat Darren, Sheen would just flash them. So I'm just like, I'm still not pulling at all. So I eventually just was like, yo, I'm just gonna pull. So I just ended up like jumping in, just pulling a couple of these guys. So no one really actually like got through. I think maybe one person at the end um, got through, like actually beat Sheen and Darren, but it was kind of like I don't know. I mean, I feel like Sheen like also wasn't trying as hard as he could, obviously, because like also he knows that like I'm going next, and like if he feels that like he could beat him, like he probably was comfortable enough to give the guy a little bit of rope um and yeah, like let him work and stuff. So anyways, I got to pull a few times, like I said, just jumping in and just even also when they'd lose to Sheen, I'd just be like, let's just pull because I just got so bored of not pulling. Um, and I guess one of the takeaways, like there's a few takeaways, like one is that like it was way easier than I thought it would be. Um, Even because we didn't really run into like real strong or real big guys, which also like it figures because a lot of these people are like obviously university students, like majority of them are under like 22, 23 years old. A lot of them were like first year, second year, so like teenagers, and we didn't run into any. I don't think anyone was like, you know, like say I don't think anyone benched over 3 plates or like was over like a certain height and weight like um that would really be a factor even without the experience. There were some strong guys, there were some decently big guys, but um I just realized like as soon as these guys like go and then I like as soon as I can kind of just keep their wrist flat, I just like I don't feel them anymore. Like they just kind of lose connection and um they don't really understand how to protect their wrist either. So once I can control their wrist, it's just like that's it. Like it just kind of becomes like really easy. So yeah, I mean, my confidence against non-arm wrestlers has definitely gone up a little bit. But like I said, we definitely didn't run into. There are people who like even without the experience would be really, really, really difficult. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a bit of both. Like I probably overestimated the strength level of some of these uh, non-arm wrestlers, and also like we didn't really run into any like real talented people. Um, there are some rugby players and football players. Actually, what was really funny is like I always talk about how football has the most carryover to arm wrestling, which sounds funny because football doesn't involve your arms really. I mean, you bench and you do like pull ups and like you work out for it, but I just think this idea that like any sport that involves your hands and your arms have like more carryover just because that motion is close to arm wrestling. I mean, it like sort of it's you'd think it makes sense, but if you really think about it, um, gather 100 badminton players and 100 like top football players, and then who's better at arm wrestling. I think it's really obviously the football players. So in a way, like what does carryover mean? Like if doing one sport means that you are much like so if playing football means that you're much more likely to be better at arm wrestling than having played badminton. Does badminton really have a carryover to arm wrestling, or even rock climbing? Actually, is because usually people like really strongly believe that rock climbing has a carryover, and of course, if you're an elite rock climber, like you have amazing like pull up strength and like biceps. I'm like, yeah, like I get it, but you would be strong. But in general, I think rock climbers, all the rock climbers that I've pulled are not strong, and like the fact that like your fingers like fingertip clamping it somehow like translates to arm wrestling, I think it's like I don't agree with that. I just feel like your wrist goes back just as easily. And the football thing is kind of a meme, but if anything, like 100 rock climbers, 100 football players, I think the football players definitely would be stronger at arm wrestling, like by a lot. So it's like, does that really again like? So I feel like if anything, football has more carry. But I arm wrestled one football guy, and I was kind of hoping like maybe I'll get to see, but I don't know. He got flashed by Sheen, and then I pulled him after, and I feel like he kind of maybe um I don't know. I think he kind of mentally just let up a little bit, but I was hoping maybe they call like their friends and stuff, and I got to really like see like because I mean that guy was like a running back in like a second year. Some of these guys like the linemen, like, there's guys that are 300 pounds. I would be really, really, really curious with those guys, but didn't have the chance this time. But yeah, I mean it was overall like super tiring and uh, a lot of work, more than I thought, but um, we definitely great way to get attention though for the club. So maybe we'll do another one. And I don't know. Thanks to everyone who helped out, especially Darren for like having the initiative to like organize and try to do stuff and start the club, make things happen. And he drew the logo and everything too, which is pretty good. Made the social media. So yeah, I have high hopes for the club. But I think that's about it for the video. Thanks.